Thank you, Sacramento Young Tax Lawyers, for this government career panel. I also want to thank Myriam, Bouaziz, and the Office of Tax Appeals for hosting us, as well as California Lawyers Association for hosting the webinar portion of our event. Thank you also to our panelists for being here. We're super excited for this presentation.
Yeah. So, hope you're all ready for a fantastic panel of administrative law judges and representatives from both the state and federal side of the tax agencies here to speak with us today.
Yeah, and for the state side, we actually have two agencies represented. As you know, we have the Franchise Tax Board and Office of Tax Appeals. In terms of our panelists for the state side, we have Andrea Long and Josh Ricafort. If you guys don't mind, can you tell us a little bit more about yourselves, including your name, job title, and area of tax focus?
Okay. Hi, my name is Josh Ricafort, and I am with the Franchise Tax Board. I am currently an attorney with the Litigation Bureau of the Franchise Tax Board. I originally started actually as a tax collector prior to becoming an attorney, and then switched over to becoming an attorney and spent some time in our Tax and Administration and Procedure Bureau, as well as the new Specialized and Individual Tax Bureau. So right now, I generally work on bankruptcy and collection litigation cases for the FTB.
And I'm Andrea Long. I'm an administrative law judge here at the Office of Tax Appeals. I started my career with the state in 2015 at FTB, and I came over to OTA in 2018.
Thank you. And then unfortunately, Jackie Zumaeta could not join us today, but we'll have another panel. She's just full of great information. We'll hope we get to network her at another time.
Yeah, and if everyone on the federal side, Lorraine, Kathryn, if you could also introduce yourselves with your name, title, and area of focus.
Sure. Kathryn, you want to I'll go ahead. My name is Lorraine Yu. I am a Deputy Area Counsel, that means manager for criminal tax with IRS Office of Chief Counsel. I am on video because I am in Los Angeles. I will let Kathryn tell you where she is in just a bit. But it's nice. Thank you so much to SacYTL for having us on this panel and including us in this discussion. Thank you so much.
All right. And so my name is Kathryn Meyer. I am an area counsel with the Small Business Self-Employed Division. I work out of the Portland office. And so I have attorneys and paralegals that report to me in Sacramento and San Francisco, as well as Portland, Seattle, and Honolulu. I am actually in Maui at the moment. And so I wanted to give you the good view out my balcony here. But I'm excited to be able to share my wisdom and experiences. I've been in my job for 10 years. I've hired probably, I'm going to round here, 100 attorneys and paralegals in that career, including promotions, honors hires right out of law school, lateral hires. So I have a lot of hopefully good tips to share with you today. So thank you for having me.
Of course, we're so happy everyone could join us today, guests and panelists alike. Just to give everyone an overview of the events today, we're going to have two 20-minute segments, presentations from both the state and the federal sides, and we'll follow that up with a Q&A from the audience. And after the presentation, we'll relocate to Device Brewery on R Street for everybody in person. And I know you have to come to the next one. But yeah, with that, I'm going to turn things over to our state representatives. Thanks, everyone.
So bear with us. I'm going to share our screen here. If I can figure that out, actually. So this is the part we should have practiced.
I think the lower right next to the slider.
Ah, perfect. We have smart people here to help us.
All right. Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you for being here, whether you're in person or online. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and thank you, Danielle and Mina, for putting this together. And with that being said, Andrea and I will start with our presentation on how to secure a government state job. So our agenda today, we will be talking about the online process, that mainly being CalCareers. It's the website that houses the job postings as well as applications and whatnot. And then we're going to talk about interviews and some extra information on the examination process. So our online application process begins with our website, as I mentioned, with CalCareers, and that web address is jobs.ca.gov. And when you log into the page, this is what you're going to find. This is where you can create an account to upload your resume and put in your application. And it's also where you can find the active job postings. As you can see, that we have the main search engine, and below it is an advanced job search feature. And what that is it breaks down into more specific fields so you can expand your search and have more detailed fields into what you're looking for, so you can tailor it into it. So when you click the link, this is what's going to be popping up. And with that, the things that we kind of want to highlight is the department field. That's how you can select the agency that you may want to be looking for work for. Just a little side note, the three main taxing agencies that you'll probably find are Franchise Tax Board, Office of Tax Appeals, and the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. And then the next field we like to highlight is the classification, and that has a drop-down field where you can actually type in different classifications that will slowly generate and populate as you type it in, and that's really where you'll find attorney classifications as well. The next field is the location, and that is the geographical location of each job posting. This is generally broken down by county. And just to kind of highlight another thing is on our current website, beneath that, there's a link for telework that gives you information whether the job is in office, completely in office, or completely remote, or a hybrid setting, which is kind of what we do at the Franchise Tax Board, where we have some days in office and some days we're in telecommute. So through the advanced page search is how you find our active searches, active positions. So if you fill in an attorney position and hit the search button, it will generate the active attorney openings that are currently posted. And this is what it would look like when you generate a search. And what we have on screen is a little bit older of a posting, but just to kind of do a little quick plug, Franchise Tax Board actually has an opening right now. So if you were to select the agency and click the attorney, you'll find this little summary with that information in it. And what the little summary has is a little bit of information about the position, where it's located in the filing deadline. And then if you click the view posting link, you will find more information on the actual job posting itself. And on the posting itself, you will find the final filing date, which is one of the more important things, because that is the final date that you have to get your application in by. And it also gives you the different methods in which you can turn in your application form. The most common way is through our CalCareers website. It has the link on the top right of the job postings, but you also have the option of turning in applications either in person or by mail. And then along with a description, as well as it gives you kind of the job duties and the descriptions, and as well as the qualifications that are being looked for. And this is kind of where you can get the information to tailor what you're going to put into your application to kind of highlight your experience. And we have a little bit more information. So that posting is going to list out the things that's required in a job posting. Sometimes it's going to list up the job application, which is standard, the STD 678, as well as statement of qualifications. So this may vary from posting to posting, but this is where you will find that information.
All right, so I'm going to highlight here. It says the minimum requirements for an attorney. If you click on this button that's circled, it'll give you all those details to see if you qualify. It'll pop up this screen and give you a description of each classification. The screen is a little, I think it'll zoom in. So for an attorney, as you can see, it's an entry-level position. This is if you're brand new, it's something that you might want to look into. I think the next screen will show, but for an attorney 3, I think it's 5 years in practice. So you can tailor what you're looking for based on your experience level. Yes. So, and then the requirements for an attorney is just membership into the California State Bar. An attorney 3 is 5 years of legal experience, 4 is 6 years, and 5 is 8 years. And this is a lot of words just to say, basically, once you've graduated and passed the bar, these are the skills that you should have already, but this is now written down for you to review. So like I said, the minimum requirements is have being barred in California. And then the next thing I wanted to point out is the duty statement. That is going to be a little bit more specific about this job requirement. If you click into it, it'll pull up a PDF and have more details on what your essential job functions will be to see if you are interested. This is a good place too if you're looking, you get that interview to see what more details that the job might require, or if you need to come up with questions. For example, this says you'll be preparing small case program appeals. That might be a great question in your interview to ask. And then if you want to highlight things that you can demonstrate in your interview that based on the duty statement, this is a good place to look as well. And this is the general salary for an attorney at with the state. So as it states, the range A for an attorney begins at $7,737, and again, that's just passing the bar. And then for a graduate legal assistant, which I think Josh said that there's going to be postings at FTV for. Graduate legal assistants are for those who are waiting for bar results. So they graduated and they're, yes, so they've taken the bar and they're waiting to pass, and you can be hired on at that level as well. Next is Josh pointed this out earlier. This is the special requirements, and a lot of jobs will have additional things that they want you to submit. For this particular posting, they want a narrative. Basically, instead of a cover letter, they want something that's a little bit more tailored. And you will answer these 2 questions. For this particular one, it would be describe your knowledge of OTA and its functions and why you're interested in this role. And then the second question is describe your experience in working with tax law. So every job posting is going to be a little different. But some might just require a cover letter, and some might require a writing sample, or some will have tailored questions for you to answer.
And then, as I previously mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, essentially, a majority of jobs in the state require the candidates to be ranked on an examination list prior to their appointment. That includes the attorney classifications. So with that being said, prior to applying to your job, you will need to complete the exam or the assessment. And that could be found through the homepage of our CalCareers page through what's circled in highlight. Once you click that link, that's going to take you to a page with more fields to allow you to search for the different examinations. And at this point, you will be searching for whatever position you're looking for, be it an attorney or an attorney 3, or even for those interested in the graduate legal assistant position, I believe there's an examination for that as well. So when you search it, it will generate and you will come upon an exam bulletin, this is what it looks like, and it's going to give you a little bit of background on the exam and talk about it. And to kind of let you know about the exam, it's not necessarily a technical, what do you know skills, but more self-assessment or an evaluation of your knowledge, skills, and abilities based on your current experience. So if you previously had maybe you just graduated law school and you have experience doing moot court or writing some basic pleadings. So those are types of experiences that you can use to rate yourself when you go into taking these assessment exams. So to access it, you would click the link and it would look like this. And throughout the page, it's just going to give you the information about the exam as well as examples of exam questions. So kind of like the self-assessment questions that I was talking about. So you can view that before you actually take the exam. And then once you preview the training and experience evaluation, you can go ahead and take it. And I think once you get it and complete it, you only have so much time until you can take it again. So what you do on this exam lasts for a certain period of time. And with that being said, the next pages are just going to break down what the skills and abilities that the exams are looking for and asking you to rate yourself on your experience with research and analysis. And it kind of breaks down the tasks that are included with that. And then the next pages will show out, our next slides will be showing the different categories in which we have.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to highlight, like Josh said, you're going to include all of your experience, and it says to do that in the instructions as well, based on your formal education, your law school courses, moot court, and things like that. So if there's a question that here says, how many times have you cross-examined a witness, you're going to think back in your moot court classes or mock trials and include that as experience.
That's correct. And this goes over the research and analysis skills that the self-assessment kind of looks for and asks about, and as well as the project and communication and case management skills. And decision-making as well, and workload management.
And once you pass that exam, it'll generate a score that says, give you a percentage, saying that you are on the exam list, that you passed this exam. That means if an employer is looking to pull people to interview, they're going to make sure you're on that pass list and you're ready for your interview. The interview for the state is very different from the private sector. First of all, you'll get the questions. Some agencies will do 30 minutes beforehand or 15 minutes beforehand before the actual interview. And you get to sit with those questions, write notes on how you want to answer those questions before you enter the interview room. And then afterwards, during the interview, unlike you might see in the private sector, it is just a question that the panel will ask, the interview panel will ask, and you just answer that question to the best of your ability. There's no follow-up question. It does make for sometimes a very awkward interview process because you don't always get that feedback with follow-up questions or body language or things like that if you're on the right track. But in the meantime, the interview panel will be writing notes and scoring your answers as you are answering them. So it is supposed to be very fair. So it's just going to be based on the interview. I think a lot of traps that people who don't know the interview process for the state fall into is they'll often say, while they're answering a question, is to, oh, you might have seen it in my resume, I've done this, and then not expound upon it. The interview panel is trying to give you points on what you say. If you don't say it and you just say, look at my resume, that is not going to score you any points. So you want to score as highest points as possible, because at the end of the day, whoever scores highest based on what the panel has heard in that interview room is who will likely get the position. That is really the end of our presentation. We're happy to field any questions that people may have. I don't know if you want to do that now or
a Q&A session actually.
Oh, perfect. So we will answer some questions at the end.
And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Turn it over to Kathryn and Meyer.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm hoping we can get help with our PowerPoint presentation on there. So I don't have to do any technology, please, for the room. Nobody wants to see that.
Are you two ready to begin, Lorraine and Kathryn?
Oh yeah, we're ready to go.
Okay, awesome. Then please.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I think did Myriam have our presentation to share?
It's just
It's on the
Myriam?
screen.
Is it there?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you see it on the screen?
No, I only see
No.
the California, the one we just saw.
You might have to share
Okay.
a different window.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you go.
Yes. There we go.
So there we go.
There you go. How about that?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. And hopefully someone can help us with the forwarding of the screen as well. Thank you guys in advance. Hi, thank you again, everyone, for having us. Kathryn and I are here to talk about the federal job process. And I thank you to Andrea and Josh. I already learned so much about the state too. Got to be careful about those interview questions, I guess. So as I said, we are here. I am a deputy area counsel for criminal tax here in Los Angeles. I supervise attorneys all up and down the West Coast. Kathryn did give a brief description of her job duties as the area counsel. But before we launch into the job process, we did kind of want to give a brief introduction to the IRS Office of Chief Counsel. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So this is our org chart. It doesn't look easy based on what you're looking at. As you may or may not know, we are obviously a nationwide organization. We are the IRS Office of Chief Counsel. In that role, we are the attorneys for the IRS. They are our one and only client. They keep us very busy. Basically, we represent the IRS in all aspects of tax administration. That's collection, enforcement, advice. Basically, anything the IRS needs, we are there to represent them. You'll see, I'm not going to go through this org chart, everyone, don't worry, because I can't do it myself. But you'll see sort of as an overview on this chart, we're basically split into two major functions. We have a national office, which is based in Washington, D.C., and then we have a field function, which is everywhere else in the country. Generally, our national office is known as sort of our technical side of the house, right? So they are the ones working on regulations, advice to the client, private letter rulings, advice to even taxpayers when they need advice, anything technical, anything that needs like statutory review, things like that, the national office is going to do that. We have all these branches over here on the green side. Those are basically our technical functions, again, based in Washington, D.C. The second sort of half of our organization is the sort of blue side right here. And that's the field function. That's where Kathryn and I work. Again, Kathryn works with the Small Business Self-Employed Division. They are, I think, our largest field division. They might be our largest division as a whole. And that's where most of our attorneys there. The major function for Small Business Self-Employed is to represent the IRS in tax court. So lots of litigation of taxpayer cases. That's where most of the litigation is happening in Small Business Self-Employed. I am in the criminal tax division, much smaller. Basically what we do is we work with special agent, IRS special agents on criminal cases. We review the cases before they get referred to the tax division for criminal prosecution. And we're also providing advice to special agents through all phases of their criminal investigations as well. We have also our major field functions are also large business and international. They sort of are the taxpayers they serve. I'm sorry, the part of the IRS they serve are the agents that are sort of auditing and examining large businesses and international issues that come up in cases. And we also have a TEGE Division Council, I think that's what they're called now, TEGEDC. They are a tax exempt government entities division. So they deal with all issues tax exempt, also like government entities and their tax status, things of those. They also litigate in tax court as well. Oh, I forgot to mention, in the middle of our chart is our chief counsel. This is an outdated chart because we just got a new chief counsel. We're very excited about it. Her name is Marjorie Rawlinson. She's the 49th chief counsel, and she's our first woman IRS chief counsel. So she was just sworn in, I think today, right, Kathryn, or yesterday? And so we're very excited about that. And that's just an indication that our org chart is always changing as well. So can we go to the next slide, please? So here are some key resources that you may wish to refer to that we think are really helpful in terms of a job search, in terms of figuring out what the IRS Office of Chief Counsel is, are listed here. The first one is this www.jobs.irs.gov/counsel. I think this is a really good starting point for anyone who is looking for a job here in counsel. Before I get into more detail about that, I'll also go over some of these other key resources. We have a LinkedIn page. We're very fancy that way. When you actually learn of a job you're interested in, or you can also search for IRS counsel jobs at this usajobs.gov. We'll go through that in some more detail. And another important resource is our general schedule pay scale. It's the pay scale, basically. So we work on a GS level, GS table. It's a lot of steps, a lot of grades, and then there's also the locality pay that we have to deal with. Because we're a nationwide agency, we have a lot of different levels of pay and also locality pays that we're dealing with. So if whenever we're trying to figure out, and I'm trying to figure out how much I'm getting paid, I go to the general schedule here on the link, and then we can sort of figure out. And so when you're applying for a job, it's also good to kind of refer to this general schedule to figure out sort of what the actual pay will be depending on where you are located in the country. Okay, next slide, please. So here is the web page for the www.irs.jobs.gov. The reason I wanted to show this to you, I know you probably can't see it very clearly, but this basically it's a very nice summary of all of the opportunities available here in counsel. And it's also kind of separated down by law students, entry-level attorneys, and experienced attorneys. So you'll see here we have opportunities for what we call the honors program. That's for entry-level attorneys. So those are attorneys who are sort of, as Andrea and Josh were describing, people who are just graduated law school and are kind of waiting for their bar results. We call the position before you're officially an attorney, we call that position a law clerk. But we do have an honors program. I was hired into IRS as an honors hire way back when. And I was waiting for bar results here in the office with a lot of stress with a lot of people too. So it's a really nice program. It's a good way to get in directly from law school. We also have a summer program that's for 2L law students who can do an internship here with the IRS Office of Chief Counsel during their second year summer. If it goes well, oftentimes that will lead to a job offer as an honors hire after your 3L year. We do also have externships available, and then below that we have a link to the opportunities for experienced attorneys. So these are more for lateral attorneys, lateral positions, and all the links here actually will link directly to the vacancies for USA Jobs. So it's a very easy sort of place to look for job opportunities here at counsel. If you could go to the next slide, please. So the page continues, as you see. I could not get it all onto one slide, so I got it onto two. Below all of the opportunities, links for the opportunities, there's also these extra links, additional information regarding our office. And the reason I wanted to show everyone this is specifically with respect to the link for legal divisions. It actually describes all of the divisions we have here in counsel, both the national office functions and the field functions. The reason I want to point this out is because if you're going to apply for a job here at counsel, I would recommend that you research the organization a bit before you submit your application for a particular position or a particular division. The reason is, as I described, some of our divisions are litigating divisions. Others are technical divisions. Others are advisory divisions, right? And so if you go into your interview, for example, for Kathryn's division, SBSE, and you say, I don't want to do litigation, well, that might not be for you because they are a litigating division, right? So I do want to highlight, like, it's really important, I think, when you're applying for a job with counsel to kind of research the organization. This link, for legal divisions, describes all of our divisions, so you'll be very familiar with, hopefully, with what the particular divisions do. I've had many interviews with people where they don't know what particular division they're applying for, and they say, I just checked all the boxes. And that's not a great look, I think, when you're interviewing for a job. So that's just I think I wanted to, like I said, highlight this particular link on here so that you can become familiar with our organization a little more. Okay, next slide. please. Okay, so we are hiring. We are hiring. We are hiring. We are hiring. Kathryn's second half of her job, I think actually it's like second 100%, so she has 200% of job, is doing hiring right now. As many of you may know, Congress has given us a pretty big budget, and we're trying to use it as much as we can to hire. So these are our current and recent vacancy announcements. SBSE, Kathryn's Division, Small Business Self-Employed, is hiring for GS 12, 13, and 14 positions. And it's a continuous announcement here at this link through September 30th, 2024. Our other field division, Large Business and International, is also hiring through September 30th, 2024. My CT division, Criminal Tax, we just had vacancies that just closed. And you can find actually all vacancy announcements for IRS Office of Chief Counsel at this link, or you can just go to USA Jobs and just click in IRS Office of Chief Counsel. And it's changing. I just checked it again after we prepared this PowerPoint. I just checked it right before today. There's already new job postings on there, one for our tax exempt government entities division, and a bunch of other new job announcements. So it's a very active page. So keep checking. A lot of our advisory divisions also have openings there as well. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just an example of what the vacancy announcements look like when you find them on USA Jobs. The LBNI, the SBSE, and the CT vacancies I just listed here as examples. This is what you'll see. And if you could go to the next slide a little more closely, it's a little more of a close-up of this. I think this is the SBSE one I put on here. And so I think we're going to go through, I think, some of the things you'll find on the vacancy announcements. I think that's on the next slide. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Kathryn for that discussion, please. Kathryn?
Sure. Okay. So as Lorraine mentioned, we've got the OPM pay schedules that are out there. The pay levels that are going to be announced on USA Jobs are going to be national pay scales. So if you're coming in for a grade 11 position, which is the honors hires out of law school, it's going to show everything from somebody who is right out of law school, grade 11, step 1, up to grade 11, step 10, which means you've been a grade 11 for something like 18 years. Doesn't happen. Don't worry about that. But it's going to show this huge wide scale. And so that's why we recommend that you go to the OPM site to see the exact pay that would be a possibility for you in the cities in which you're interested. Because it's a national announcement, it's just going to show this really wide variety there. Grade 11 is what we offer for somebody who has a JD. If you are an honors hire, we do not expect you to have passed the bar yet. You are given a certain unlimited amount of time in which to pass the bar while you are working for us, as Lorraine said, as law clerk. It is the same pay. You don't change pay when you pass the bar. Once you've passed the bar, you then also have to then apply for your tax court admission if you're in one of the litigating divisions. We do have some reimbursement for bar dues. We reimburse for your tax court bar admission. We do not reimburse for like bar prep and any of those kinds of things. To become a grade 12, you need 1 year of general legal experience. And this is going to be measured from when you were admitted to the bar. So to apply for a grade 12 position, you need to pass the bar exam and actually be admitted. And I've had problems trying to hire somebody who turns out they passed the bar, but they hadn't finished the admissions process yet. And I was unable to offer them the grade 12 position. So it just one of those things, the grade 12, 13, and 14 requires that you've not only passed the bar exam, but be admitted to the bar. Grade 13 is building on the grade 12. And now, in addition to 1 year of general legal experience, you have to have an additional year of federal experience. And that can be in litigation, in audit work, or consulting work. So, estate and gift tax planning, assisting with audits or collections for taxpayers, helping them with their offers and compromise, doing collection due process, helping clients apply for innocent spouse relief. This can be litigation in tax litigation in district court, This can be refund litigation. This can be collection litigation. It does not have to be tax court litigation. But it does have to be federal experience. And so, you know, the time you've spent before FTB or OTA is not going to count as federal tax experience, even though a lot of California income tax is just a mirror of our federal code. To become a grade 14, which is the career capstone grade level, requires 3 years total experience, 2 of which is that federal experience. If you are hired as a grade 11, it is 1 year to get to the grade 12, 1 year to 13, 1 year to 14. So I'm not going to say it's automatic, because you do have to get a fully successful performance appraisal, but it is a pretty standard career ladder process to get you promoted up through those grade levels. And then once you hit the grade 14, that's where the steps come in. Lorraine mentioned our pay schedules on OPM have steps. You know, you're going to go down this little table. It looks like a multiplication table. You go down to grade 14, step 1, and then you're going to keep moving over. And so it's 1 year between steps 1 to 2 to 3. Then it becomes 2 years between steps 4, 5, and 6. And then it's 3 years between 7, 8, 9, and then 10 is as high as you go. And so that's why I say it takes about 18 years to march all the way over to the 14 step 10 part of that little multiplication salary table. Now, because we are a national practice, if you are here in California and you've taken the California bar, that's awesome. We love that. But you would be able to move to any of our offices around the country, and you don't have to take another bar exam. And so that is one of the benefits of being in federal practice, is you do have mobility around the country. Working for our office, you do not have to take another bar exam. Similarly, if somebody is from Texas and they move to California, we will, you know, their Texas bar is all that they need to come work for us in California. Posts of duty are listed, and so that's the office that you're going to be assigned to, where you would report. There are often multiple PODs listed within that USA Jobs announcement. And this is, again, another one where we see people check every single office possible. I do not recommend that. We are looking at this across the country. We are, for SBSE, for example, you know, I've got my counterparts in Boston are looking at this list. They're, you know, going to see who's applied to my Boston office, who's applied to my Hartford office. And they're going to see, if they see your name on that list, and they're going to see your name is also on for San Francisco and for Sacramento and for Portland. And we're all going to kind of be like, well, where are you really interested in being? You know, applying for every possible job, every possible location doesn't really help you in trying to find the best match. And it makes us kind of wonder if you really thought about what you were applying for. So that is a tip. Really think about what you want as far as your job location. Where do you want to be? If you have some flexibility, that's great. But I once asked somebody there, you know, what would be, you know, we'll often ask you, like, what are your top 3 locations? What are your preferences? And somebody was just really adamant. Oh, I don't care. I'm like, okay, so let me put down Buffalo and Omaha as your top 2 choices. And he's like, oh, no. I'm like, okay, you need to tell us. We're going to try and match you up with your top preferences. And so it's just one of those things where, you know, in the desire to get that first job, I think some people are a little bit too, you know, have this like sense of urgency of like, well, more is better. I really don't think it is. And so really be targeted. You are not required to include a cover letter with your applications, but you certainly can. And sometimes, I mean, that can be very helpful to go through and say, you know what, I'm interested in California because this is where I grew up and this is but I have family in Chicago. And so that's why, you know, I mean, if you can kind of go through, explain a little bit, give us a little bit of a perspective, what you're interested in, why you're interested in that, it can be helpful. And then the other thing I wanted to be sure, because this has happened to people and I've got people really upset with me. our closing dates on USA Jobs are all based off of Eastern time. So when a job vacancy says it's going to close on Friday, March 8th, it's going to close at midnight Eastern time, not Pacific time. So you definitely want to make sure you're getting your application in and thinking about things in terms of Eastern time, get it done early. And so I just wanted to make sure to pass that tip along. All right, let's go to the next slide. So this is, again, USA Jobs. We've got the search bar up at top. You can do your keyword searches. So IRS Office of Chief Counsel, you can put in attorney as a keyword. Locations, again, different states, things like that. When you hit search, there's also going to be another opportunity to do further filtering. And so you can filter by agency, you can filter by by grade levels. I mean, there's all kinds of additional filters that are in there. Your USA Jobs profile allows you to go in, upload your resume, upload your information. You can transfer things over from application to application. You can check the status of your application. I will say the status of your application is not automated. It does require a human being to go back in and interact with it. When I get your application, it's downloaded into a separate system, and that's what I work from. So it's not going to automatically tell you that I've looked at your resume or what I've done with your resume. So I will say the status is going to be very vague and generalized. It won't give you a huge amount of specifics, but I just did want to alert you to that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Some resume tips. USA Jobs has what they refer to as a resume builder. I really don't like reading resumes that were built using that internal tool. Please, please, please create your own resume in Microsoft Word, convert it to PDF, upload that into USA Jobs. Hint though, we will see the name of the file you upload. And I give that because I have seen people who upload resumes that say like Department of Labor. And then in there, they'll say, oh, I'm detail oriented and things like that. And I'm like, but you're applying for the IRS job with your labor resume. And I know this, right? So I'm just telling you, we will see the name that you add, that the file name is going to be there. So make sure it's something professional. You can include your name. That's great. It's not required, but because I end up with, I'll end up with like 50 downloads of resume. I have to go in and rename everything, but just know I'm going to see your name. I'm going to see whatever title you have typed in there. There is no need for fancy formatting. I get resumes with all these things like on the fancy thing on the left, and they're 2 different angles and whatever. No need to be fancy. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward. I would rather you put your efforts into kind of the next bullet than I would with all of your fancy fonts and formats and things like that. Federal resumes, if you use the USA Jobs Resume Builder, it can be 10, 12 pages. Way too long. There's lots of space in there. It's not in the most logical order. It's not a great thing. But we are not looking for one-page resumes. We're really not. I don't want to see, a bunch of 12-page resumes either. But somewhere between 1 to 3 pages should be enough for your resume for you to provide information about your experiences, including some examples and some specifics. And so that's one of my key points for you on your resume. There are times when I have, say, 3 positions to fill, and I will have 200 or more resumes to review. If you can imagine reading 200 resumes, what I'm looking for is somebody who is going to stand out. And I'm not talking about the fancy formatting here, right? That's going to be more annoying than anything. What I'm talking about is somebody who has gone through and been thoughtful about their application, that has put some specifics and some examples about what they are doing in their work. And so if you put some bullet in about your experience, represented taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service. Probably 199 other resumes also say that. That's a very bland, generic bullet. It's not going to help you stand out amongst the crowd of 200 applications. If you can go in and provide more specifics, represented, 100 clients, before the Internal Revenue Service, and then provide an example of one of your favorite, most sticky innocent spouse cases or something like that. Don't have to go and give us your client's name or anything. But I mean, if you've got, a couple of examples of something that you can do, or if you can highlight, I've done 150 offers in compromise, put in some details. And I'm going to say this is not just about your tax work and the things that you may have done in private practice, or doing pro bono work through a low-income taxpayer clinic or anything like that. This is also true for any of your other prior experience that you're bringing into the office. If you are becoming a lawyer as a second career, or if you've been working part-time, going to school part-time, things like that, all of those experiences have value. And I think this is probably true for the state as well, but the IRS audits every single kind of business. They audit every single kind of taxpayer. So if you've been working in a bakery, we audit bakeries. That experience is going to transfer and be helpful. If you've been in the entertainment industry, we audit a lot of entertainment people, right? If you are, you were a car salesman, guess what? We audit car dealerships all the time. So any of those things that you can do to highlight any of that experience that you bring to the table, and can explain to us what you did and how you, what you learned from some of those jobs, those are skills that are going to be transferable over to what we do. And so do not discount any of that prior experience. Do not discount pro bono work. It's amazing. Low-income taxpayer clinic, if you were volunteering, if you did any kind of moot courts, things like that, highlighting, give examples. You were on a moot court team and you led the team and you handled oral arguments and you cross-examined or whatever it is, give some of those highlights. Don't just say I did moot court, right? Okay, a lot of people do moot court. Give me specifics of what you did, and now I'm going to want to ask you more questions. Now I'm going to want to pick you out of that 200 lineup of 200 resumes, because now I've got something more interesting to work from. With the interview tips, Lorraine already highlighted this, right? The irs.gov jobs site has all kinds of great information about our office, the organizations that you're looking at, whether it's a field operating division, whether it's one of the associate offices in our national office. Learn what you can online. If you're looking at the operating divisions in the field that do litigation, go to the tax court's website, read the daily opinions, get an idea of what's being litigated and what's going on, and reach out to people that you know, or even maybe somebody that you don't know. That's our LinkedIn page. You're going to find a bunch of people working for us. You now know myself, you know Lorraine. You can reach out to us and ask us questions so that you are prepared when you come into that interview. Both Lorraine and I are very passionate about this. We want to ask you questions and learn about you during the interview. We don't want to be spending the time that we have trying to teach you about who we are and what we do, right? We want you to be prepared. So when you are preparing, come with examples. Again, come with your favorite war stories. Come with your favorite examples of things that you have done, things that were challenged you, cases, if you're a law student, some of the things that you found really exciting. What was your favorite case? What was your favorite code section? Like for me, it's 1031, my kind of exchanges. Like that, I got so excited when I was first learning about that in law school. And so, come and show us what makes you excited about tax and be specific with some of those examples. And then the last bullet is, we're going to ask hypotheticals. We want to get an idea for how you're going to handle situations. How are you going to handle teamwork? How are you going to handle problems when things go wrong? And so think about some of your experiences and be prepared to kind of highlight that. But you also aren't always going to know the answer, and that's okay. What we want to know is, how do you problem solve? How do you handle it when you don't know the answer? Who are you going to go ask? How are you going to find the answer? And it's not about trying to do it all yourself, right? We are a large organization. We've got We're going to be approaching 3,000 employees. Not all of them are lawyers. That's a big team of people that you can go and ask. And so that's part of the challenge for you on this interview, is to help explain, well, you know what, I'm not sure what I would do, but here's how I would handle that. I would ask this person, I would talk to that person. This, what would that process look like? Give an example. Well, I had something similar happen at my last job. And when I didn't know what to do, this is how I handled it. It's a great answer to some of those questions. So I just wanted to put those tips out there for you, because it can be very powerful. And it's those kinds of answers that when you do them well, will get you the job.
I also wanted to add one more thing on the interview tips as well. And this is something that as an interviewer of people, like I have found this to be very interesting. So, and just so you know, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, those are always priorities for the IRS, for the federal government. We do also try to inquire about those kinds of experiences during interviews as well. And part of the question is, how have you contributed to your community? As Kathryn was saying, don't underestimate some of your experiences. You might not think they're that relevant, but actually showing how you have a public service interest, how you contribute to the community in a certain particular way, whatever it is. It might not be tax, but maybe it's, with the local Boys and Girls Club. Those kinds of things also are very important to us, and actually show us kind of who you are as a person as well. So don't forget about some of those kinds of experiences when you're thinking about your interview, when you're trying to talk about yourself during the interview. As Kathryn says, we like to learn about you during the interviews. And so that is another way for us to sort of learn about you, is kind of, what your contributions are to public service and to the community as well. So I did want to add that onto the interview tips. We got lots of tips, but I think that's all we have, right, Kathryn, for now, I guess, except for questions and answers. So we'll turn it over to Mina out there, or Myriam, whoever's out there.
Thank you, Lorraine and Kathryn. That was awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate the presentation, for you guys being here. And we only have about 5 minutes left, I believe. We want to still go through some Q&A.
I see we have some questions on Zoom, and then maybe we handle some of those since they've been building, and then we can turn it over to in-person questions as well.
Yes, there are quite a few questions on here. Lorraine or Kathryn, are you able to see them, or is it only me? You are. Okay.
No, I can see them. I'm scrolling through them right now.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Start with the first one.
Yeah, I can read that out loud. So, when a job posting has one opening, how competitive is it to land that job? When a job posting has multiple openings, how competitive is the hiring? I think maybe we can have a state answer and then a federal answer.
Sure. I can start. So for the state, it really depends on who is applying in that candidate pool. So if you're applying to that attorney 1 position, I think that's for experience for new attorneys up to 4 years. You don't know who's in that applicant pool. So if you're up against people who are in their 4th year and you're just a newly barred attorney, that might make it harder. And so I wouldn't be discouraged if you don't get it on the first try. I would apply again once there's another hiring round. It all depends on the year.
Do we have a Lorraine or Kathryn? Maybe I think you kind of went over this a little bit. 200.
Yeah, I think our answer is going to be similar to Andrea's, and also the attorney answer of it depends, right? It does depend on who else is applying. I think generally, it depends on the type of job that's available as well. So for example, if it's a very sort of specialized position in IRS, like this, if for a certain technical division, that might be a little more difficult, right? For certain people who are sort of just more general, have more general experience. You will see that I think the current open announcements for SBSE, small business, self-employed, and for large business and international, lots of vacancies open right now. So it's really, obviously when you see that, it's going to, obviously we're hiring a lot more people. So that might be a sort of, I don't want to say easier, but it's more opportunities there for hiring. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of our participants online. We have a lot of great questions in this Q&A, and Unfortunately, I don't think we'll get to all of them, but I'm going to group two questions that are on the exam for the state application portion. The first question is there a study guide for the exam? And the second question is that exam timed? Is there a special software required for taking the exam?
I can answer that. So for the examination, it isn't timed, and there isn't a study guide for it. It is a self-assessment of your experience. There are sample questions when you go onto the link, so you can kind of see what kind of experience is being looked for that you're going to rate yourself with. It's not timed. I believe you may have to complete it within that session once you logged in, but it is not timed.
Great, thank you, Josh. And then I'm going to combo another two questions, and this is for our federal representatives. What are the steps between the grade level salaries, and how hard is it to successfully move between those?
So the steps, what would typically happen is, if you're an honors hire, right out of law school, you're going to start typically as a grade 11 step 4. And after a year and you get your fully successful appraisal, you would then get, or no, I'm sorry, it's 11 step 7, and then you go down to a 12 step 4. The idea is that, we want you to have a little bit more money, so they're going to kind of make that work. And then it's 1 year from 12.4 to 13.1, 1 year at 13.1 before you become a 14.1. And then you would start your march over 14.1 for a year, 14.2 for a year, 14.3 for a year, 14.4 for 2 years. So, I mean, it's all on the OPM site. It'll walk you through a lot of that. It requires fully successful appraisals. That was somebody's question. They're very common. We do have a probationary year for your first year. There are very few people who do not complete the probationary term. It is something that we have a whole process that we go through to try and make sure that you're getting every 3 months at minimum, you're getting the specific feedback. Here's what you need to work on. This is what you need to do to complete probation. So there's a lot of that feedback.
Thank you. I think we're going to do just 2 more questions here. This, I believe, is for both federal and state. What is the timeline from application? Are interviews scheduled from the date of closing on the job announcement, or are interviews scheduled up to the date of closing? I think we can maybe go Fed first.
So the federal, the vacancy that Lorraine was talking about currently with SBSE is kind of an open one that ends in September. What will happen is we will typically pull resumes and we'll look and see who's applied every, I'm going to say like 4 to 6 weeks. We'll pull a batch of resumes, and then after we consider this next one, then we'll pull the next batch of everybody who's applied in the next 6 weeks since then. The interviews will then, it's kind of this rolling process that we're going through basically all year round right now. And so it's going to take a couple of weeks to review the resumes, decide who we want to interview, set up those interviews, and then go through. I make my selections and my recommendations. That has to go to my boss in Washington, D.C., who has to sign off on it. And then it goes to our F&M staff, and that's our kind of non-lawyer side, admin side of the house. And then human resources is the one who would actually extend an offer. So there's a lot of bureaucracy in this process. I'm not going to be able to just extend you an offer at the end of the job interview. So it will take a few weeks. Once you are given an offer by F&M, then there's a background check that goes on. We check and confirm you filed your taxes. Don't get me started on the number of people that I've had to rescind offers to because they have not been filing their taxes on time. Please, people, file your taxes. And then we set a start date. So, I mean, it's a process that will probably take a few months from the time you submit your application to the time you might step foot in our office for your job offer.
Thank you. And for the state?
For the state, it's a very similar process as Kathryn mentioned. Once you're going to look at the filing deadline, some will be continuous. So people will pull those applications periodically, or some have a hard deadline. Once the deadline comes, the applications will be pulled, and then they'll be reviewed to see that they meet the qualifications and are on that exam pass list. And then I think we will extend interviews, and like Kathryn said, they'll do something similar. It'll take a few weeks, right? It'll be our HR that will extend those offers. And I think maybe for FTB, they also similarly go through a background check to make sure they file the return.
Check the taxes as well.
Okay, and then thank you, everyone. Those are great answers. I hope they provide some good insight to any prospective candidates. Last question from the Q&A. Where can we find a recording of this event? So Brittany has helped us with that. CLA should have a recording of this webinar. And also, I believe we're going to provide the slides that we featured today. You can get those directly if you email sacyoungtaxlawyers@gmail.com. And yeah, please reach out to that email if you have any other questions. Just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out today in person or virtually. If you're interested in more SacYTL events, please join our LinkedIn group or email us at youngtaxlawyers@gmail.com to join our listserv. Thank you again to our panelists. We really appreciate all the insight you shared today. It's been really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.